What's going on YouTube? West Hobbies RC. So today we are back with the Blade Infusion 180. So we are going to be doing a main shaft and feathering shaft on this model. So we have our main shaft laid, or feathering shaft laid out here, and our main shaft laid out here. So there's your part number for the main shaft and your part number for the feathering shaft. So you get two feathering shafts in the kit, in a bag, and then one main shaft with a collar. So the first thing we're going to do, pull the canopy, pull the blades. I'm not going to bother video pulling the blades. It's simple, 1.5mm driver. Now for all the helicopter, you're just going to need two 1.5mm drivers, one for each side, and then everything else is a 1.5mm driver. And the back is a small flat-headed, flat blade screwdriver. So let's get the blades and the canopy off, and let's start disassembling and swapping out the main shaft. All right, so now we're going to pull the head block off. So I found it easier just to go ahead and pull your arms off, and then you can put a dab of, well, I like to put a dab of CA on the screws when I go to reassemble, and it acts like a Loctite for plastic, because you don't want to ever use Loctite on plastic because it will eat the plastic. So just go ahead, pull your screws out, be careful not to drop them into the motor, and then you're going to grab your 1.5. Now again, everything is 1.5, and you will pull your head block, Jesus bolt screw out, whatever you want to call it. Set all your screws aside, and then we will have to, of course, replace our heat shrink after, like we did on the head fix video. So now you're going to go ahead and just set the whole helicopter aside, and now you will have your complete head assembly in your hands. So now let's go and start taking that apart. So of course you'll need two 1.5mm drivers. So just like on any head for any helicopter, you're going to insert your drivers on each side. Now, a quick way to see if you have a bent feathering shaft. Insert a driver on one side or the other, does not matter. And this works for all helicopters. Slowly rotate and watch for a blade grip to jump. Now, the blade grip on the left side is bouncing up and down a little bit. Now, I have already pulled this head apart multiple times. This was my very first Infusion 180, and after I crashed it, before I was able to get parts, I was straightening the shaft. So now go ahead, grip with one side and screw it out. Get your feathering shaft bolt out of here. We're going to set that guy aside. Carefully grab your head block, blade grip, and pull the entire blade grip assembly out. So now you'll notice, you look down in there, you don't see any thrust bearings. And you're going to say, well, there's no thrust bearings in the blades. No, there is. But they are just inside these bearings. So you have your main bearing, and then you'll have a spacer in here, then your thrust bearings, and then another bearing. So now you don't have to do nothing. You just take that blade grip, set it aside. You will have a little copper washer here that will slide out. So grab your head block and pull. Now make sure that you don't lose this little guy. So let's set these like this, how they went together. Let's set our head block here. And then right here, we have our whole other side assembly. So again, there we go. Get your little head dampener came out. Go ahead and put that back in the head block so you don't lose it. And then put your little washer. Now remember, on these washers, you will notice that there is two sides to it. If you can see this here. Okay, see there's a raised edge and a flat side. The flat side is going to go towards the head dampener itself, and the raised side will go towards the bearing side itself. So now you can go ahead, and you'll notice here's what I was talking about. Here's the bearing, outer thrust, thrust bearing. So that came off with the blade grip, and when you put this back in, it locks down inside. So you want to be careful. Sometimes Loctite will get there and hold that bearing in, and you want to slowly push, and you might have to use a little bit of heat to get that bearing to slide back in. So we're going to set this guy completely aside now, and let's grab our new feathering shaft. Okay, now that we got the new feathering shaft ready to go in, I went ahead and I just put a little bit of Loctite on this screw already. So I'm just going to go and run this screw down. And I did clean them the best that I could. So you're just going to go ahead and start this screw. Make sure you get it started correctly so you don't mess the screw up. Let's start this side. There we go. Now we're going to snug it down. Okay, and then we're going to grab one blade grip and we are going to slide it through. Okay, then we're going to grab our little washer. Remember, ridged side towards the bearing. And then grab your driver so you can press and have something to hold against. Grab your head block, slide it through. Grab your next little washer, little copper. Of course, make sure flat side towards the head dampener, ridge side towards the grip. Grab your next blade grip. It's a very simple, super easy head design. Hold it aside there. Grab your next feathering shaft, screw, put a dab of Loctite. Now, you don't need much. I mean, this is how much Loctite I'm putting on. Not even, and then I rub it in. Too much Loctite will run out if you're not careful, and it will actually glue the bearings together. So very, very important. And then just tighten this all the way down. Be very careful when tightening this up. You just want to go till it's snug, and that's it. These are small screws. They will snap. So you just want to go till they're snug, and you're done. Grab your head block, pull, twist, make sure it's free and smooth. Make sure you don't have no slop. Head's tight. Blade grips are very smooth, no grit, no nothing. So now our head block is done. So let's set this guy aside and let's get started on the main shaft. So let's reposition the camera and start on this guy. Okay, so now starting on the main shaft, the first thing I would do is pull your anti-rotation bracket. Now you can go ahead and pull the little pin out if you want to. The less that I can, especially on a plastic swash plate, the less that I can screw and unscrew into it, the happier I am. So I just pull the anti-rotation bracket out. That allows these to move. So now you're just going to pop your linkages off, and that is going to release the swash plate. Now on the back linkage, they can be a pain. So if you have yourself a pair of ball link poppers, then it makes life so easy. Go ahead, slide your swash plate off, and this can give us a good look at the swash plate. Very thick and beefy. The bearing feels good. So now let's set that aside, and the main shaft is very simple. That's the best part about being a direct drive. You're gonna have one 1.5 millimeter screw right down there. Go ahead and pull that screw out. Okay, sometimes you'll have to use a little pair of needle nose or something to pull it all the way out. Once it's fully loose, go ahead and get that screw out. Set that guy aside and pull the main shaft right out. Look how simple that is. Literally that simple. Set it aside. You're gonna grab your next main shaft. Now these main shafts are very thick, very beefy. I don't think it's bent, but the model was crashed and I want to make sure of it. So they're cheap. It's a good habit to get into swapping shafts after a crash. It eliminates a lot of issues, a lot of vibrations and stuff. So you're literally gonna take your new main shaft, just slide it down like butter. Grab your bolt, which will be this easy. I mean, it's literally this easy. Grab your screw, line the main shaft up in the bottom. Don't drop it in the motor like I just did. So it might be easier to use your same needle nose to line the shaft back up. And once you get it lined up, go ahead and slide your screw in. Just like that, go ahead and screw it down. Of course, add a little Loctite, but look at that. That's how easy it is. Now you'll see the collar has a little bit of a gap. We don't want that. So loosen up this collar and drop it down till it's riding on the bearing. Tighten it back up. You don't want no, you see how there's that little bit of play? You don't want no play. So now just go ahead and adjust that till you got no play. Shaft is tight. So now let's go ahead and grab our main shaft. Or not our swash plate, sorry. Slide your elevator push rod link back on. Go ahead and pop your aileron and pitch servo link back on. There, you are done. And I know in the unboxing video I said that you squeeze these to adjust them. That's just my old school way of thinking. Back in the day, we used to make these and push rods that didn't have any adjustments on small airplanes, and you would squeeze and separate them to adjust. But no, these are just turnbuckles that you can turn by hand. So grab your anti-rotation bracket. Now remember, these are plastic, so no need for Loctite. If you want to, you can use CA, but that is up to you. A little bit of medium. Not needed unless you feel like the threads are not tight. So now go ahead and get these back in. So we got one, just get them started and then go back through and tighten both of them up. Remember, no Loctite on plastic, and don't go overkill on tightening. These are little screws and it is plastic. So now we have our main shaft in, and honestly, I will say, I have to say it, easiest by far to put a main shaft in. Easiest helicopter. I have never, on any of the micros, had a helicopter so easy to put a main shaft in. Now let's grab heat shrink. Let's do our heat shrink on the head to fix the head block and throw it back together. Okay, now remember, little piece of 3/32 stretch to fit. If you haven't seen that, go check that video. But we're just gonna push it down. I'm gonna use a lighter just because of video's sake. I don't wanna run a heat gun. Shrink the heat shrink up and leave it long. Okay, take yourself an X-Acto knife, some kind of sharp object, and poke a hole for your bolt to go through. We will clean up the excess length after we get the head block on. Grab your head block, look down inside, make sure there's no heat shrink left over. And now you can cut this little tip off, but I've learned to leave it so it stops the heat shrink from getting pushed down. Line up your hole like this and carefully get it to line up. And there we are. What's going to happen is it's just going to put a gap there, which is all we need. Now grab your bolt. Of course, a little bit of Loctite on it already, and run it down. It could be a little bit hard to get it started because of the heat shrink, but once it's started, you are good to go. Tighten it all the way up. That's going to eliminate any slop in the head. Then come back with your X-Acto knife. We got some that's stretched over. I just ride the knife here, spin the motor until it completely cut where you can move the heat shrink up and down, and then take your X-Acto knife and carefully cut the heat shrink in half and separate off the helicopter so you get a nice clean look with no heat shrink hanging down. It's all about being clean. Now, grab your screws that hold your arms on. So now make sure that your blade grips are on the correct side, so that way, you know, bolt down. What I like to do here is slide your screw through, and then I grab some medium CA and I just put a dab of medium. Just a dab, all you need. And that is going to act like a Loctite for plastic. Too much CA will run through, just like Loctite, and really cause problem. Now tighten that up, nice and tight, and do the same for the other side. Same thing. Grab your screw, run it through, dab of medium CA, just a dab, all you need. Actually might have been a little too much. Wipe some off and run your screw down. Remember, don't go overboard. These are plastic, just till they stop and tight. And then there you are. You have a completed helicopter. Throw your blades back on. You are good to go. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care and have a great day. And remember, for blade tightness, you just want the blades on there tight enough. Let me do that real quick. Video's not over. Sorry. Okay, go ahead and tighten your blades up. Try to do this without smacking the camera because of the way I have the helicopter positioned here. There we go. We'll do it this way. So for blade tightness, you want to make sure that is too tight. So you want them to be pretty loose, actually. That's about right. Look at the bottom is a good way to tell. You want that screw to be about flush with the bottom of that nut. You want them to be pretty loose, but not super tight. So there you guys go. Main shaft and feathering shaft replacement on the Blade Infusion 180. Super easy, super fast, incredible helicopter to work on. Blade did an incredible job on this one. Literally the easiest main shaft I have ever done in my life. And feathering shaft for that matter. So give this video a like, subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care and have a great day.